Well, good morning, everybody. As Julia said, I'm Al Peters. I'm the executive director and founder of Can Do Canines. And on behalf of the board and staff, I want to welcome you today and thank you for coming to learn about Can Do Canines. I'd like to just begin by sharing some information with you, a little historical information about Can Do Canines. In 1987, I founded what was then called the Hearing Dog Program of Minnesota, when I learned that there were more than 140,000 people here in Minnesota that could benefit from a hearing assist dog, but that only 1 or 2 dogs were being trained by other organizations in other parts of the country and being brought into Minnesota. So there was a huge need, and we decided to start training hearing dogs here. At the time, I vowed to begin training hearing dogs and to continue to do so until everyone who needed an assistance dog, everyone who needed a hearing assist dog could have one. And we're continuing to pursue that. Make yourself at home, Sam. We're continuing to pursue that goal even today. The best way for me to explain why I do the work that I do is to share a couple of stories about some of our graduates. In 1991, 75-year-old Frank Stewart contacted me because his life had changed in a terrible way. Frank's wife had just passed away, and at that point he realized how bad his hearing loss really was. Previously, his wife was there to help him with the sounds in his home, but all of a sudden he realized that when the smoke alarm would go off, he couldn't hear it. When the phone rang, he didn't know. Even though with a hearing aid he could talk to somebody on the phone, he couldn't hear the phone itself ring. And then on the day that his wife's funeral took place, people came afterwards and they brought food and they wanted to comfort him, and they rang the doorbell and knocked on the door, and he never answered it because he couldn't hear it and he didn't know they were there. So he contacted me with kind of a desperate plea, and he said, please help me. Please train one of your hearing assist dogs for me and help me so that I can remain in my home. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll end up in the nursing home like my 95-year-old mom, who also can't hear. I said, Frank, I'd love to help you, but at the time, Frank lived in Henning, Minnesota, which is way out north of Alexandria, and we were just a little tiny program starting up here in Minneapolis and didn't have the resources or the training staff to do that. So I said, I'll do the best I can. Well, he called me back in a couple of weeks, and he said, Al, he said, there's a motorcycle gang that moved in down the block for me, and it's like the next farm over. He said, I know that they're going to figure out that there's an old guy living here, and I probably have some money, and they're going to show up one of these days. So I loaded my 357, and I put it under my pillow, and I'm going to keep it there until you bring me a dog. Well, he got my attention, so he said, we got to figure out a way to do this. So we found a local trainer to work with us and to help deliver some of our methods. I selected Katie, who's in the picture, I think, from a local humane society, and over a period of 16 weeks, we taught Frank and Katie to work together as a team in his home, so that at the end of the time, he knew when somebody was at the door, and he knew when the smoke alarm went off. He even knew when the deer came to his bird feeder. So he was getting alerts beyond anything we had trained for. But it changed Frank's life, and it allowed him to live a secure, safe life at home on his own. He was very grateful for that, and we found out years later when Frank passed away that he made provisions in his will. First, to make sure that Katie would be cared for the rest of her life, and made provisions so that we could train another assistance dog for somebody down the line, somebody that was waiting. So Frank was a great guy and a great example. In 1995, we recommitted ourselves, this time to training mobility assist dogs for people who use wheelchairs, people who use walkers or crutches. The dogs assist in many, many ways, in particular retrieving objects, opening doors, turning light switches on and off. Those are just some of the many things that they're custom trained to do. During the next decade, we expanded our operations and we continued to reinvent ourselves. We began training seizure assist dogs for people with seizure disorders, diabetes assist dogs, and we began training autism assist dogs for children with autism and their families. So in 2009, we changed our name and we became Can Do Canines to better reflect this wide range of services that we are providing. We provide these trained assistance dogs free of charge. And because of that, people have come to, and because of the quality of the dogs we train, they've come to us in droves. At this point, we have 180 people on our waiting list. And because we're only able to train between 30 and 40 assistance dogs per year right now, that list is growing. So it's a pressing need for us. Telling you that there are 180 people on the waiting list is one thing, but understanding that actually, I think, requires a story that might help to paint the picture. One of those 180 people is Michael Bradley. He's age 10, and he's a child with autism. Michael lives in Woodbury with his family, with his mom and dad and his 2 brothers. And Michael is a real dog lover. He loves dogs. His parents are certain that a trained dog will make a difference for him in helping him to control his emotions and live with his autism. They hope that a trained dog will really open the door to a full life for Michael. Mike's mom and dad, Dawn and Herman, applied to Can Do Canines in March of 2011. So they've been waiting almost 4 years for their assistance dog. Michael's name has finally arisen to the list. We're looking for a dog for him right now, so he'll have one soon. But 4 years is just way too long for anybody to have to wait, especially a child with autism. So to address this problem and to shorten that waiting list, we've developed a new strategic direction for the organization. We've got this wonderful facility that you're going to learn about today, and we're going to increase the number of staff and the number of dogs that we're able to train each year so that we can double the production of assistance dogs over the next 4 years and really attack that waiting list and shorten it for all those who are waiting. Our mission is as simple as it is compelling. Can Do Canines is dedicated to enhancing the quality of life for people with disabilities by creating mutually beneficial partnerships with specially trained dogs. We're unique in Minnesota and provide services that are really unavailable elsewhere. Can Do Canines places more assistance dog teams here in Minnesota than any other organization. We will train a qualified pet dog to become an assistance dog, thereby keeping a person and their pet together whenever possible. We use homeless shelter dogs whenever possible to become assistance dogs. We're the only organization in Minnesota that does that. And we placed 36 assistance dogs last year and have graduated more than 470 teams so far. You've seen the pictures as you came in, I hope. You can see every conceivable size and shape of person and dog on those walls, and it's very representative of the work we do. With the help of selfless volunteers, dedicated staff, and generous contributors, we give the newfound gifts of freedom and independence to peace of mind to our clients and their families. It's now more than 25 years since I began this work, and I can tell you that I'm very proud of everything that happens here at Can Do Canines. I invite you to join us in this important work. Thanks for being with us today.
I'm going to do the PowerPoint. So I know, I'm standing in the dark talking. But basically, we're going to give you a little tour of the building. And
it might be better with the light on. I think they're going to.
Can you see? Okay. All right, we'll go. All right. Julia's my little next. Okay, this is a picture of the building. We moved here. It'll be 5 years in January. Right in the middle of January we moved. It was lots of fun. But it's over 20,000 square feet. Where before I think we were at about 7, so lots more room. And we sit on about 3 acres. So it's been such a godsend for us as far as space and everything else, and making the remodeling. We couldn't have done that without the help of numerous volunteers. This place needed to be gutted and rehabbed badly, and so we could not have done that without the help of our volunteers. And it's a little bit of okay. You came through this hallway. This is our little Hall of Fame. These are all of our graduates. There are 470 as of the current count. And so when you leave today, take a look at it. It starts on the left side. You'll see the older pictures, and then ends up around the corner heading back towards the red wall. The room you're sitting in now is, we just call it the big room or the event room. And we hold our graduations here twice a year, spring and fall, and the public is welcome to attend these. It's a celebration of our teams and the puppy raisers, and acknowledgement of all their hard work. And we also hold this classes, tours, and other things that require large amounts of people. This is our kitchen. After this tour, you're welcome to get up and look around in the different rooms, but to your right is the kitchen. It's a dog kitchen. When we moved here, we didn't have to share our kitchen anymore with the dogs. They get their own, and so do we. Basically, this is all the dog food's held here, instructions to kennel staff on what dog is eating what, and if they're on any medications and things like that. So that is our lovely dog kitchen. This is, next to that, to your right, is our grooming room. And it's because the dogs get dirty and towels get dirty, and so we just wash everything in there. And there's a grooming table for our poodles and things that need to be groomed. There is, the next picture I think shows, yes, a wash tub with a very thrilled looking dog there. And Stacy, our kennel manager. And later you'll get to see into the kennels and you'll notice it's a muddy day today. And there will be doggy baths later today. They had some fun in the bath run, so there will be dog baths later. This is training room 2, which is back behind you to your right. And this is our larger of our training rooms. Our puppy classes are held in here. Laura, who's our in-house trainer, she works with the dogs there as well. And you'll see there's also some practice walls, we call them. There's push plates, there's elevator buttons, light switches, and the dogs have to hit them hard enough for the light to go on. It's not just a sweeping pass, they have to really bump it. This is, you can't see this, it's a separate area, but we do have a caretaker on site. It's a person that lives here, and so that the dogs are never here unattended. So it's for the safety of the dogs and just our peace of mind to have someone on premises all the time. So there's a living area there, and Jesse Heber is our caretaker. This is what we call our second chance kennels. This is back in the farther corner. When we get dogs from shelters, they might have kennel cough or things that are contagious to the rest of the dogs. We would not want to put them in a regular kennel area or expose them to the rest of the dogs in the building. So we have an area that has its own separate air intake, everything. And so if they need to be in quarantine for 10 to 14 days, they can be back there. That's part of it. That's also a part of it. So the trainers can work with them back there. They can get some interaction and evaluate them further. And then there's also, is there a picture? Oh, whoops, okay.
Sorry.
Back up. Anyways, second chance kennels. So if we can't get them onto a foster right away, they can at least stay in those kennels and we can save their lives and get them into the program. Okay, this is directly behind you. This is a training apartment. We fitted it up just like a regular home setting so that when the trainers are working with the dogs, they can practice rising up on a counter. And you'll see the next picture above, Dan's working with a dog on tugging. So tugging, opening a refrigerator door. And at the bottom, Dan is working with a hearing assist dog, so he's got a little oven timer there. And Chloe, who's one of our little Muppet dogs, a little hearing dog, so she's alerting to it and then bringing him back to the source of the sound. We also, for our clients that live outstate, so they don't have to pay for a hotel room, we have an overnight room that has its own entrance in and out of the building, so that when we close down for the night, they can come and go as they want. They can stay here on site, and they don't have to pay for a hotel room. So if they're coming from Duluth or they're coming from South Dakota or wherever, they can stay here for a few nights, they can work with the trainers and then head back home. Most of the training for our clients are done in their home settings, but if they can travel here, that's really helpful with the trainers to work with them as well. This is training room 1, which is directly behind you, and that's just the smaller of the 2 training rooms. Usually when the clients meet their dog for the first time, it's in that room. And so that's where a lot of love matches are made. And we also do some smaller training classes and things like that in that room. This is a picture of one of several of the kennel runs that are through this window. And we'll be flipping these windows open later. So basically there's 2 parts to the kennels. There's the front kennel run, and usually the dogs have buddies. There's 2 dogs per run unless they're diva and want to be alone. And then there's a second part to the kennel. The door opens, and so they have a 2-part run. When weather is nice, we have garage doors that open up, so they can look out onto the back run. And then that's like today, cold, and then the garage doors come down. This is the first part of the outdoor run. It's all gravel, so they kind of mill around in there, go potty, do all that fun stuff. And then beyond that is the grass run. And we have 10-foot high fences, and there's Stacy throwing balls. That's what they were doing earlier today, and they got all muddy. So they have plenty of room to run, and it's really fun to watch them in the winter. They come running across the snow. It looks like one of those films you see. It's really cute. So they have lots of opportunities to play. We just do this in here because collies are so cute, and there were 6, 7 of them. Sometimes breeders donate dogs to us in litters, sometimes 1 or 2, really varies. We also get dogs from, the next one? Shelters, as well as Al mentioned, the Humane Society, rescues, all work with us on giving us dogs. 95% of our Hear Assist dogs are shelter dogs, and then the other types as well. That's Aggie, she's one of our shelter dogs. The first picture there is Al way back when, with our first dog, Annie, that was used in the program. And we also have our own breeding program of Labradors. And we are also in a consortium with Assistance Dogs International. So we're working with other organizations on breeding programs and what makes the best assistance dogs. We have 4 prison programs right now. We have Waseca Women's Prison, Faribault, we have Sandstone Men's, and the prison camp up in Hermantown, Duluth. And they are just wonderful programs. We couldn't do the number of dogs and with the clients without their help. They learn patience and consistency and all these things they might have been without in their lives. In exchange, they work with these dogs and they help us train them. And it's just been a wonderful program. The dogs are just, they come back wonderfully trained. It helps us produce more dogs for our clients. The Faribault Men's Prison is the only one that works with older dogs and shelter dogs. They're the ones that they kind of catch them up where they need to be. I raised a corgi last year that I'm not married, so she needed to have some men working with her, so she went down to prison. And they also trained for some of the sound work. She turned out to be hearing assist dogs, so they practice with that. And then they also work with some of the diabetes scent training down there. And that helps catch them up and get them through here a lot faster than before was just to work with them. The Waseca Women's Prison, the Duluth, and the men's Sandstone all work with just the puppies. We have always worked with veterans as far as placing dogs, assistance dogs with them, so that's an ongoing thing over the years. The young man on the far right, you might recognize, it's Corey Bryce. He's in some of the Wounded Warrior Project commercials you see. I always look for Baker, I think. I see his tail go by every once in a while. He has one of our assistance dogs, and he was in the Iraq War and was wounded, and he was placed with Baker a few years ago. So that's always been a very proud thing for us, that we've always assisted the veterans. Actually, to date, we are at 470 graduate teams and growing. We did 34 teams this year. Our goal next year is 46. So that's always good to rise in numbers. And that, I think, is it for the PowerPoint. I'm going to introduce to you one of our puppy raisers, Sharon Bloomquist. She's a seasoned puppy raiser, so she's done several dogs for us. We don't call it older puppy raisers, they're seasoned puppy raisers. So. And this is Judge, by the way. Good morning. I am Sharon Bloomquist, and I have been puppy raising for just over 3 years. Judge is our 4th dog that we have raised. The first dog became a mobility assist dog. We had one that became an autism assist dog, and our 3rd one is actually back here in the kennel, finishing his training and getting matched with his client. Judge is 18 months old. We've had him since he was 8 weeks. He actually came from a breeder, so he was donated, him and his brother Norman. He is very awesome. He now can do things for me at my house, and I have to try and remember to let him do stuff. Like, I try to pretend I'm a client so that he will do things at our home. So some of the things that he will do at my house is he helps me with laundry. He can reach into the dryer and pull the clothes out and hand them to me. And then he also can pick things out of a basket and hand them to me to put into the washer or off the floor. He knows how to open up the refrigerator. He knows how to do the touch plate, so when we come into the building, he opens the doors for me. He can retrieve anything I ask. The other day, the remote was way over there and I didn't want to get up, so I had him go get it for me. We take him to various places. The most recent place that we went is he got to go Christmas shopping with me yesterday. I got done with work early, and the first thing I did was go home and get my shopping buddy. He's great because he doesn't complain if I'm taking too long or if I'm buying too much. He's really awesome. I
had him shopping with my daughter recently, and I knocked something off the rack by mistake. Had Judge pick it up, he handed it to me, I got to put it back on the rack. So he's really cool, he's a lot of fun. We started puppy raising because we wanted to help change somebody's life. Jessica received Georgia, the first dog that's a mobility assist that we raised, and giving up the dog, I know you're wondering, is it hard? The answer to that is yes. I usually have tears when we turn our dogs in to finish training, but that's a good thing. These dogs become part of our family, and we do lots of training and we get bonded with them. When Jessica graduated with Georgia, we spent time with Georgia in the training room with the other graduate dogs. Georgia was happy to see us, but she knew she didn't belong with us anymore, and she needed to get back to Jessica. And that was actually really cool to see. It was very bittersweet for our family, but it was awesome. It made us feel very proud of the job that we did with her. Some of the other things that we do with Judge is we bring them to classes a couple times, at least twice a month. Here at Can Do Canines, they have trainers that work with us. No experience is necessary to become a puppy raiser. They train us, they work with us on how to train the dog certain things. So we also work on, basic obedience, the sits, the downs, the stays, the, come when called, and heel, and side, and front, all that stuff. And so it is a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun. He also goes out on many outings with us. School outings, restaurants. My Target store knows me. I was at the pharmacy there one day, and I had a different dog, and this one happened to be brown with black. That was Duncan, the one that became an Autism Assist, and the gal at the pharmacy says, "Don't you usually have a black dog with you?" And if I show up without the dog, they're like, "Where's the dog today?" So being a puppy raiser is a lot of fun. If you're thinking about it, after the tour, I'll go into training room 2 here, and I will show some of the things that Judge is able to do, and I can answer some of your questions. All right, thank you.
I'd like to call Colin up. She's one of our graduates, and she has an assistance dog, Giles. It was stretch first. For their puppy raisers, right now we've got probably about 120 dogs between the 4 prisons and our puppy raisers, and the dogs in kennel waiting to be placed with clients. So it's a lot of dogs, and we're expecting more. So we're needing more puppy raisers. So if you are interested, or if you know others that are interested, have them contact me. I'd love to talk to them about it. We have some puppies coming mid to end of January, so we have a few spots left. So that would be very, very helpful. And this is Colin. I'll let her get situated.
Yeah, it takes us a little bit. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you.
Hi, I do have to apologize for Mr. Giles. He knows this place quite well. And normally when we're out somewhere, even if we see other dogs or whatever, he doesn't cry. He started crying when we turned on the street somewhere and hasn't quit since. So you can tell he has lots of fond memories of his training here. He is from the G litter. And so you heard Sharon talk about Georgia. That's Giles' sister. I call him Sir Giles because I think Giles sounds so British. I am a type 1 diabetic and obviously have some mobility issues too. So I say that Giles is a double major. And he's only 3. And so I have to be pretty strict about not letting people pet him because if we're out in the store or whatever, and somebody wants to pet him, then he gets wild and crazy. So, we're still working on that a little bit. We take the red coat off. He's like a different dog altogether. I tend to drop a lot of things. You get it? Get it? Come on, get it? Get it? There's a good boy. Brain. Good boy. See the look at it? He is such a guy. No offense, gentlemen, but really, he's watched my husband too long, and you know, it's like he'll argue about things and then finally do it. Well, that's my husband. If you're gonna argue, just do it to begin with. All right, come on, get it? Get Pete. Get it? So he can pick up all different kinds of textures and things, even credit card or a bank card he can get for me. Here, bring. Good boy. I really wanted to be able to talk today because, you know, you see the dogs and it's so wonderful and everything. Giles is actually my second assistant dog from Can Do Canines. My first dog was Cher. Cher liked to go shopping, unlike Giles. So he needed a puppy raiser that liked to go shopping a little more, I think. But, so I had Cher, and she was wonderful. And when you have a dog, Giles, stop. When you have a dog, you don't think about, well, if something happens to this dog, I'm gonna need another one. And I've always tried to volunteer and help out whenever we can. Giles. He really does not ever do this, so. But Cher died at age 5 of lymphoma. And she died 2 days before my mother. And so that was a really tough time. And Can Do Canines was there for me through all of that. And I lost both of my main sources of comfort within days of each other. My sister knows how much Cher helped me and how it changed my life. And so she said, Colin, I really want the memorials from Mom's funeral to go to Can Do Canines. So we did that. We do whatever we can to help Can Do Canines, but at the price of $25,000, $26,000 to train a dog, the little bit I can do doesn't come close to covering one dog, much less two. They got me Giles soon after, and each dog is so different in personality and traits and so on. But Giles was a cuddler, and Cher was not. And I really needed to cuddle. And so he helped me get through that summer, and he has been excellent with his diabetes work. In fact, even better than Cher, who I said was the perfect dog. I wear a CPAP machine at night, so I was worried that the dog wouldn't be able to tell if my blood sugar went low with that on my face. And so just a couple weeks back, Giles came up and he's bonking me in the face and everything. And so I figured he wanted breakfast. Giles gets breakfast at 8:30. He will wake me up anywhere from 8:25 to 8:35, but not 8:36 even. So it's in that 10-minute range. So I'm groaning and moaning and thinking, oh. So he left the room all of a sudden. I thought, okay, well, he went to get his bowl, and I guess I'm gonna have to get up and feed the dang dog. He came back with a bottle of juice. and I tested and my blood sugar was 50. So the CPAP didn't deter him, and even the hope of breakfast didn't deter him from his job. So I just want to say, if you're here hoping to get a dog, this is the greatest place on earth for continued support. Another reason Giles cries when he sees the black lab, especially, is because a lot of the graduates get together. The Golden Valley Humane Society lets us play together on Mondays in their big room. And so that really helps in Minnesota winters, Giles. To let him get some exercise and some social time with other dogs and so on. So, at any rate, I can go on and on forever talking about Giles. Apparently he can go on forever talking about Giles. But I just want to say, whatever you can do to help, you know, obviously money is the first thing that comes to mind, and that's great. But the puppy raisers, Sharon, you know, I don't know what we would have done without the puppy raisers and people who are willing to put in that much time to a dog and a project and then hand them over. That takes very special people. So whether you're a foster parent or a puppy raiser, whatever you can do to help is greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin and Giles, or Sir Giles.
Sir Giles, yeah.
We're just going to play one more quick video, and then we'll have everyone else come up front, and it'll be question and answer time.
Years ago on Thanksgiving, I had an insulin reaction at 2 o'clock in the morning. I fell out of bed, I had a concussion, I had a seizure and went into AFib. And my doctor visited me at the hospital and said, I'm not burying another diabetic, you're getting an assist dog. This is Moxie. She is a black lab and she is a diabetic assist dog. 3 days after I had her home with me, she woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It just woke me up. I checked my blood sugar and it was 70, which isn't bad for me. So I laid back down, tried to go back asleep. She wouldn't let me fall asleep. Just wouldn't let me fall asleep. And eventually I got back up and checked it again. It was 32. So she knew and told me. For somebody who's not gone through something like that, I can't explain it. To know that security is there, all I can say is thank you. And those 2 words are never, ever gonna be enough, ever, to express how much she's changed my life, my family's life.
My assistance dog is Bally, and she's a beautiful and brilliant black lab. Bally does a wonderful amount of things for me. For the body, she does all the physical things that I need, but more intangible and harder to describe is how they nourish your spirit. It's amazing when you know the investment that they do make in each dog. It makes it even more of a gift that you feel very blessed to have received a dog that so much attention has been given to and so much love even before you get it.
was involved in an explosion when I was a police officer at work, and I had a brainstem injury. My seizures would go anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes, and my doctor said, "You will die from these if we don't do something more aggressive." Brody is a seizure assist dog. He's a little bit different than the other seizure assist dogs here in that I have a vagus nerve implant in my chest here. And on Brody's collar is a magnet that's the sister to this implant. And what Brody does for me is, once I seize, he crawls across my chest and he does his little snuggle here, and the magnet hits the implant and knocks the seizure out immediately.
Hi, this is Jewel. Jewel is a rescue dog from Kansas, and she's a hearing assistant dog. One of the things is my hearing has gotten worse over the years. That's when I realized I really need someone that will alert me to sounds, and that makes me more secure when I know there's someone there that's listening for me. About 10 years ago, I had a fire in my house. If I was sleeping at the time, who knows what would happen. But now, if that happens today, hey, I got her to protect me, right, Joel?
This is Savvy. She's our daughter Megan's Autism Assistance Dog. Megan has autism, Tourette's, and obsessive compulsive disorder. Things were very unsafe in public. There have been times where she's wandered off when we're in a parking lot and there's a car coming. It actually happened recently, and Savvy stopped her from getting in front of that car. It's just amazing. She's had that bond with Megan since the first time we took her out. Before Savvy, Megan used to have some pretty intense meltdowns. There have been times where we've gone out in public and it's happened, and where you would just pray. Somebody would come up and ask you if you need help, and people would. They would actually come up and say, "Can't you control your daughter? What a brat." Just very hurtful comments. And she may have autism, but she can hear it just fine. She's a very huge calming influence on Megan, and it just, as a parent, it makes us feel like we've done something really wonderful for our daughter.
All right, so right now I'd like to invite all of our speakers back up, and now's the time that if you have questions, let us know and we'll do our absolute best to answer them for you.
What do you do when a dog is old? Do you retire them some way, or how does that work?
She asked what happens when our dogs retire. We career change them. We do retire. If the client has family, then they'll adopt them out to the family members. It really depends on the dog. There's some dogs that when they are older, they don't want to work. Another dog coming to their home, they'd be like, yeah, bye, go. And others are like, why are you not taking me? I've been going with you for how many years, so we don't want to put those dogs through that. So the training staff talks with the clients about their situation and do they have someone adopt the dog. If they don't, we'll help them find a dog or a retirement home for the dog. So they'll talk with us, especially when they're ready for another dog. They'll start talking with us. Every year we renew a card for them, and they turn in a vet report and some things on how the dog is doing. Do they need any help in other areas? Is the dog getting older and maybe not able to do the tasks that they need them to do? And start talking with them about retiring and when they might need another dog. Or if the dog unexpectedly passes away, they'll get in line for what we call a successor dog.
And we have a long list of people who are waiting for one of our career change dogs, whether it's a young dog or a senior dog, people that are standing in line to give these dogs a good home. So there's no danger that they won't have a place to go.
If a puppy doesn't make it to the program, we don't say they flunk, we say they career change into something
No
else.
Failures here.
No failures. And I had a Sheltie 2 years ago that we could not convince him that children were not weird aliens. I mean, it got to 6 or 7 months and he just could not change with different settings, going from Target to another place, he couldn't roll with that. He wasn't happy. And so we can't make these dogs do this. They want to have to do it. So he found a home. He lives with a woman down in Austin, and he has his kingdom, and he's a happy little camper, and that's the way it should be. So if they want to have to do this dog, or do this job, even as they talk about it, he knows the kennels are back there, and I swear he probably knows one of his buttons is back there. So that's why he's talking. Any other questions?
How do you find the people to actually train them in the facility with the more complicated things?
You want to answer that?
How does that work?
She asked, how do we find the people who do more of the advanced training?
To a large extent, oops, sorry, Sam. To a large extent, we've found those people among our puppy raisers. Oftentimes, the puppy raisers who are really, really good at this, and some are, will eventually become a trainer. So we've hired a number of staff that were formerly volunteers, but we do search the nation for people who are talented dog trainers who can come and learn our systems. We have a new trainer that's starting here February 2nd, coming from Louisiana. We have others that come from other parts of the country. So we go looking for people who really know how to train dogs and then school them in our systems.
The puppy raisers that became trainers later had some sort of background already, so they did show a lot of dedication and coming to more than the required amount of classes that were required. But one was a senior vet tech at the U. Another one did competitive obedience and was training classes, so there was some background as well in that.
So many black dogs are adopted in shelters, and so many of your dogs are black. Do you find they're somehow more talented? Because
We find black dogs more talented. It's just more of a dominant gene, isn't it?
and they don't get adopted.
They
out of
do,
shelters.
yeah. There's a lot of black dogs in shelters, and we have no bias on black dogs. We love them.
Well, I was just curious if they're better at doing what they're doing because now you are adopting them.
The color really doesn't make a difference. It's more of temperament,
Yeah.
the willingness to work.
They generally don't get adopted because you can't see their facial features the way you can on a lighter dog. You can't see their eyebrows move. Lighter colored dogs are just more attractive. They're easier to photograph. So that's the reason that more get adopted than the black dogs. And there are more black dogs. There are more
We just
black
get
dogs
really
that go in,
creative.
so there are more that remain there too. So.
We get creative in our photography. A lot of ladies.
So, if you bring a puppy home, you're responsible for all the expenses for that 18 months for the puppy, right? The vets and...
For puppy raisers, yeah. The food, the vet care, we have an arrangement with the Humane Society with Kindness Cuts. They give us a discount, so it's very minimal cost to spay neuter. You keep your receipts for all those things because it's tax deductible, I think, for toys. Even mileage to puppy classes, you can count off on your taxes. And when you fill out an application, the trainers will sit down with you and kind of talk with you about that cost, what that cost is.
What they take on is the basic cost of caring for the dog, just as if it was your pet dog, with the exception of anything major. If we run into some major surgery or some kind of big issue, then we'll take that on.
Yeah, and you'd be talking with the trainers at that point.
So it's food and basic medical care.
And you can pick your vet? You mean you
Yep.
pick a vet and
Yeah, if you have a vet, yep, or if you're open to suggestions, we have ones that we are familiar with that have discounts as well.
How do you handle allergies, first of all, like if people want to be puppy raisers, but they have, like do you have dogs that are, there are some dogs that don't create problems
Why don't you repeat
Yep.
that?
allergies?
Yep, she had questions about people with allergies, whether it's puppy raisers or whatever, how we handle that. And that can be puppy raisers, that can be clients as well. We have dogs, we have poodles and doodles in the program, and those were the first two because there are people with allergies and clients that are waiting for that. So of course, then we have, I think, 3 that all they do are poodles every time they puppy raise because family members are allergic. So when we do get poodles in, they would go to those clients or to those volunteers. They're in high demand, so grooming costs are a little prohibitive, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But yeah.
But house cleaning costs are cheaper because
Yeah,
you
no
don't
shedding.
have any shedding going on. So.
How do you actually train a dog to be able to smell a diabetic thing or to sense a seizure? I mean, how can you train for that?
With diabetes, we've learned that there's a chemical change that happens prior to the person passing out from a low blood sugar. And that when that happens, it happens in their stomach, and then it gets into their bloodstream. and there's a scent that comes off the person's breath and their perspiration that a dog can smell and that we can't smell. But in some cases, people say if they're right on top of somebody, they may be able to smell something, but the dogs can smell it from the other side of the house because their noses are so much better than ours. So we capture that scent from a diabetic who isn't in a serious situation but knows that their blood sugar happens to be low at that moment. They blow into a piece of gauze. We seal that up in a plastic baggie and keep it in our refrigerator, and then we use those to train, and we label them with whatever you heard Sarah mention that her blood sugar was at 32 or whatever. They label it at where it is so the trainers know whether this is a really low sample or a medium sample. So we're training the dog then to first find that hidden on a trainer, and then to react to it whenever they walk into a room, and then eventually transfer that to a person. So it's something that we're one of the pioneers of that in the world. There are others around that have done it, some that did it before us, but we came up with this system of using the breath as the main thing. So people had used blood samples before, they used perspiration, all of which is very, very cumbersome and very hard to get exact readings on. So we actually taught a seminar here last year where we had 40 trainers from around the world come here to learn our systems. So the seizures are a little different. We don't know what causes the dog to know when a seizure is going to happen, and we don't promise that our dogs will do that. A lot of our dogs do. We train the dogs to react to a seizure and to do positive things for the person after and during the seizure, but we don't guarantee that the dog will pre-alert because we don't know what it is. I think it's a scent too, but we don't know what that is and we can't capture it. So far we're still researching that part.
With the seizure dogs, they're trained to lick their face to bring them out of a seizure faster. They can retrieve items, so if they're still on the floor and they can't get up right away, the dog will bring them a phone so they can call for help or go get help in the house. They can carry medication, identification, things in their backpacks if they're out in public. So that's kind of what the seizure response dogs do. And then Terry with the vagus nerve implant, we've done 2 clients now with that. So that's
We've done 2 and it's unique in the world. We actually thought that she may have been the first one. We know that others have done similar things, but not quite the way Terry does, because when Terry has her seizures, she passes out completely and can't. Other clients can take a magnet when they know they're about to have a seizure or it started, and they just do it themselves. She unfortunately is blacked out at the point of her seizure. She gets knocked down to the ground, and she could never do it herself. That's why we trained the dog to do it. So it may be the only one in the world.